Nari pressed her small face against the window of her family's research station. The purple sky of New Terra stretched endlessly above the crystal mountains. Her breath made little clouds on the glass as she watched the two suns slowly set behind the peaks. "Nari, come eat dinner," her mother Sujin called from the kitchen. The 8-year-old girl turned away from the window and walked to the dinner table. Her parents sat across from each other, looking tired after another long day of work. Dongho, her father, was reading reports on his tablet while eating. Sujin was organizing plant samples in small containers. "Did you see any dragons today?" Nari asked her parents. Both adults stopped what they were doing. Dongho put down his tablet and looked at his daughter with serious eyes. "Nari, we have talked about this before. Dragons are dangerous creatures. They are not like the friendly animals in your storybooks. The Galactic Council has rules about them for good reasons, but I have never seen one." "Maybe they are not so scary," Nari said quietly. Sujin reached over and touched her daughter's hand. "Sweetheart, dragons are very big and very strong. They can hurt people without meaning to. That is why we must stay away from them. Promise me you will not go looking for dragons." Nari nodded, but she did not really understand. Her parents were scientists who studied plants and animals. They always told her that most creatures were just trying to live their lives, just like humans. Why were dragons different? After dinner, Nari went to her room and looked out her window again. The crystal caves in the nearby mountains glowed softly in the darkness. She had always wanted to explore those caves, but her parents said they were too dangerous. The next morning, Nari woke up early. Her parents were still sleeping after working late in their lab. She put on her jacket and boots and quietly left the research station. She told herself she was just going for a short walk to collect pretty rocks for her collection. Nari walked toward the crystal caves. The morning air was cool and fresh. Small purple flowers grew along the path, and tiny lizards ran between the rocks. Everything seemed peaceful and safe. As she got closer to the caves, Nari heard a strange sound. It was like a soft crying, but deeper than any animal she knew. The sound seemed to come from inside the largest cave. I knew she should go home. Her parents would be angry if they found out she had come here alone. But the crying sound made her feel sad. Some creature was hurt and needed help. She took a deep breath and walked into the cave. The crystal walls sparkled with their own light, making the cave bright enough to see. Nari followed the crying sound deeper into the cave. Her small footsteps echoed softly off the walls. Then she saw him. A young dragon lay on the cave floor. He was about the size of a large dog, with white scales that caught the crystal light. One of his wings was bent at a wrong angle, and dark blue blood slowly dripped from a cut on his side. Nari stopped walking. This was a dragon. A real dragon. But he did not look scary at all. He looked hurt and afraid. The dragon lifted his head and looked at her with large golden eyes. Nari expected him to roar or try to attack her. Instead, he made a soft whimpering sound and tried to crawl away from her. "Hey, it's okay," Nari said in her gentlest voice. "I will not hurt you." The dragon stopped moving and stared at her. Nari could see pain in his golden eyes. Without thinking, she took a step closer. "You are hurt," she said. "I want to help." Something strange happened then. Nari felt warm thoughts that were not her own enter her mind. The thoughts were simple and full of fear, hurt, alone, scared, human, dangerous. Nari realized the dragon was somehow sharing his feelings with her. She had never experienced anything like this before, but it felt natural, like talking without words. She tried to send back her own thoughts, not dangerous. "Want to help, friend?" The dragon's golden eyes widened with surprise. He tilted his head and made a soft chirping sound. Nari sat down on the cave floor to make herself look smaller and less scary. She slowly took off her backpack and pulled out her water bottle and the first aid kit her mother always made her carry. "My name is Nari," she said out loud. "What is your name?" More warm thoughts entered her mind. This time she sensed a word or something like a word. It felt white and clean and bright like fresh snow. "Beak," she said, trying to say what she felt. The dragon's eyes brightened, and he made a happy chirping sound. Nari smiled. Beak was his name. Very slowly, Nari moved closer to Beak. He watched her carefully but did not try to move away. When she was close enough, she gently touched his injured wing. Beak flinched but did not pull away. Nari could feel his pain through their strange connection. She opened her first aid kit and carefully cleaned the cut on his side. Beak held very still while she worked. "There," Nari said when she finished. "That should help it heal better." She gave Beak some water from her bottle. He drank it gratefully, then looked at her with what seemed like curiosity. Nari spent the rest of the morning with Beak. She told him about her life on New Terra, about her parents and their research station. She was not sure how much he understood, but he listened carefully to every word. When the sun got high in the sky, Nari knew she had to go home before her parents woke up and found her gone. "I have to leave now," she told Beak. "But I will come back tomorrow if you want me to." Beak sent her feelings of happiness and gratitude. Nari felt warm inside, knowing she had made a new friend. As she walked home, Nari thought about what had happened. She had met a real dragon, and he was nothing like what everyone said dragons were. Beak was gentle and smart and kind. He was hurt and alone, just like any other creature would be. Nari decided she would not tell her parents about Beak yet. They would worry and might try to call the authorities. She wanted to help Beak get better first. Then maybe she could show her parents that dragons were not the monsters everyone thought they were. When she got home, her parents were just waking up. They did not notice that she had been gone. Nari ate breakfast with them and listened to them talk about their work, but her mind was on Beak and the warm golden eyes that had looked at her with trust. For the first time in her young life, Nari had a real secret, and she could hardly wait to see her new friend again. For 3 weeks, Nari visited Beak every morning. She told her parents she was collecting rocks and flowers for her science project. They believed her because she always came home with pretty stones and interesting plants. Beak grew stronger. Each day, his wing healed well, and the cut on his side became just a thin white line. Nari learned that dragons healed much faster than humans. She also learned many other things about her new friend. Beak was young for a dragon, only about 50 years old. To dragons, that was like being a teenager. He had been hurt when his cave collapsed during a storm. His family lived far away in the deep mountains where humans never went. Through their mind connection, Beak taught Nari simple dragon words. She taught him human words too. Soon they could have real conversations, mixing thoughts and words together. "Why do humans fear us so much?" Beak asked one day as they sat in the crystal cave. Nari thought about this question. "I think it is because dragons are big and strong. Humans are afraid of things they do not understand." "But we do not want to hurt anyone," Beak said sadly. "We only want to live in peace." "I know that now," Nari said. "But other humans do not know dragons like I know you." What Nari did not know was that someone was watching them. Commander Tewu had arrived on New Terra 2 days ago. He was a tall man with serious eyes who worked for the Galactic Enforcement Division. His job was to make sure colonies followed all the rules made by the Galactic Council. With him came Lieutenant Tiansu, a younger man who operated the scanning equipment. They were doing their regular inspection of New Terra to check for any problems. "Sir, I am getting strange energy readings from the crystal caves," Hyunsu said as he looked at his scanner. Commander Tewu frowned. "What kind of energy?" "It looks like dragon life signs, but that cannot be right. All dragons on this planet were relocated years ago." "Show me," Commander Tewu said. They drove their hover vehicle to the crystal caves. The energy readings got stronger as they got closer. Hyunsu checked his scanner again. "Sir, there is definitely a dragon in those caves, and something else too. The readings show a human child." Commander Tewu felt his blood turn cold. A human child near a dragon could only mean one thing: disaster. "We need to move quickly," he said. "If a dragon has taken a human child, we may already be too late." They grabbed their weapons and ran toward the caves. Commander Tewu had seen what dragons could do. He had been to colonies where dragons had attacked. The memory of burned buildings and frightened people made him move faster. Inside the cave, Nari was showing Beak pictures from her tablet. She had brought photos of Earth where humans originally came from. Beak looked at the pictures with great interest. Your home? World is very blue, he said through their mind connection. Yes, it has lots of water. Do dragons like water? Nari asked. We love water. We can swim very well. Maybe someday I can visit your blue world, Nari smiled. That would be wonderful. You could meet other humans. Then they would see that dragons are not scary. At that moment they heard loud footsteps echoing through the cave. Nari looked up with surprise. No one ever came to these caves. Nari, get away from that creature right now. A loud voice shouted. Commander Tewo and Lieutenant Hansu ran into the cave with their weapons pointed at Beak. When they saw Nari sitting peacefully next to the young dragon, they stopped running but kept their weapons ready. Child, move. Away from the dragon slowly, Commander Tewo said in a calm voice. Do not make any sudden movements. Nari stood up but did not move away from Beak. She could feel her friend's fear through their connection. Beak had never seen adult humans before, and their weapons scared him. He is not dangerous, Nari said. His name is Beak and he is my friend. Friend? Lieutenant Hyansu said with shock. Dragons cannot be friends with humans. They are wild animals. No, he is not, Nari said firmly. He is smart and kind. He would never hurt anyone. Commander Tewo took a step closer. Child, what is your name? Nari, my parents are Dongho and Sujin. They work at the research station. Nari, dragons are very dangerous. This one may seem friendly now, but dragons can turn violent without. Warning, you need to come with us right now. I will not leave Beak, Nari said. She moved closer to the dragon and put her hand on his neck. Beak felt Nari's determination and sent her feelings of love and gratitude. But he also knew that the adult humans would not listen to reason. Dragons had learned long ago that most humans feared them too much to see the truth. Commander Tewo made a quick decision. Hyansu, call for backup. We need a containment team for the dragon and medical support for the child. Sir, the child seems unharmed, Hyansu said as he spoke into his radio. Dragons can control minds, Commander Tewo said. The child may not realize she is in danger. Nari heard this and became angry. Beak does not control my mind. We are friends, real friends. Nari, please listen to me, Commander Tewo said. I have seen what dragons can do. They have destroyed entire colonies. Many people have died because of dragons. Those must have been different dragons, Nari said. Beak is not like that. Within an hour, more officials arrived at the cave. They brought special equipment to capture Beak in vehicles to take Nari home. Nari watched in horror as they surrounded her friend with energy nets. Please do not hurt him, she begged. He has done nothing wrong. The dragon will not be harmed if he cooperates, Commander Tewo said. But Nari could see he did not really believe dragons deserved kindness. As they took Beak away in a special containment unit, Nari felt his fear and sadness through their connection. She promised him silently that she would find a way to help him. The officials drove Nari back to the research station where her parents were waiting. Dongho and Sujin ran to hug their daughter as soon as she got out of the vehicle. Nari, we were so worried, Sujin said with tears in her eyes. When the officials told us you were with a dragon, we thought we had lost you. Are you hurt? Dongho asked, checking her for injuries. I am fine, Nari said, but they took Beak away. He did not do anything wrong. Commander Tewo spoke to Nari's parents. Mr. and Mrs. Kim, your daughter has been in contact with a class of restricted species. This is a very serious matter. You will need to come with us for questioning. Questioning? Dongho said. We did not know our daughter was near any dragons. That is part of the problem, Commander Tewo said. As guardians, you are responsible for your child's actions. The Galactic Council takes violations of the Interspecies Protection Act very seriously. Nari watched as her parents were placed under arrest. She realized that her friendship with Beak had put her whole family in danger. But she also knew that what she had discovered about dragons was important. Beak was not the monster everyone thought dragons were. As they took her family away, Nari made a promise to herself. She would find a way to tell the truth about dragons. Even if no one wanted to listen, she would make them understand that Beak and his kind were not enemies. They were just misunderstood friends waiting for someone brave enough to see the truth. The great courthouse orbited high above New Terra. It was a massive silver structure that looked like a giant metal flower floating in space. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy came here when important decisions needed to be made. Nari had never seen anything so big or so scary. She pressed her face against the window of the transport ship as they approached the courthouse. Her stomach felt tight with worry. "It will be okay, sweetheart," her mother Sujin whispered, holding Nari's hand. "We will tell them the truth and everything will work out." Her father Dongho looked worried too, but he tried to smile for his daughter. "Remember what we taught you about being brave, Nari. Sometimes being brave means telling the truth even when people do not want to hear it." The family was taken to a small waiting room inside the courthouse. Nari could hear many different voices speaking in languages she did not understand. Through the walls, she could sense something that made her heart jump with hope. Beak was here somewhere. Their mind connection was weak because of the distance, but she could still feel him. Defense attorney Minho entered the waiting room. He was a young human man with kind eyes and a nervous smile. He sat down across from Nari and her parents. "Hello, Nari. My name is Minho, and I am here to help you. Can you tell me about your friend Beak?" Nar looked at her parents, who nodded encouragingly. She told Minho everything about how she met Beak, how she helped heal his injuries, and how they became friends. She explained about their mind connection and how Beak was gentle and smart. Minho listened carefully and took notes. "Nari, this is very important. Are you absolutely sure the dragon never tried to hurt you or control your thoughts?" "Never," Nari said firmly. "Beak would never hurt anyone. He is scared of humans because they have hurt dragons before." "What do you mean by that?" Minho asked. Nari thought about the sad feelings she had sensed from Beak when he talked about his family. Dragons used to live all over New Terra, but humans made them leave. Beak's grandparents were killed when they tried to protect their nesting grounds. Minho exchanged a worried look with Nari's parents. This was not information that would help their case. Later that day, Nari met Prosecutor Jamin. He was a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. His voice was cold when he spoke to her. "Child, do you understand how much trouble you have caused?" Jamin asked. "Your actions have violated the most important law in our galaxy." "I only wanted to help a hurt animal," Nari said quietly. "Dragons are not animals. They are dangerous creatures that have killed thousands of people. The Interspecies Protection Act exists to keep everyone safe." "But Beak never hurt anyone," Nari protested. "One dragon may seem harmless, but dragons are pack hunters. Where there is one, there are always more. Your friendship with this creature could lead other humans to trust dragons. That could cause a disaster." Nari did not understand why helping one hurt dragon could be so terrible. But she could see that Prosecutor Jamin truly believed dragons were evil monsters. The next morning, the trial began. Nari walked into the main courtroom and gasped. It was enormous, with seats rising up in circles like a giant bowl. Hundreds of different alien species filled the seats. Some looked like humans, others were completely strange with tentacles or multiple heads or bodies made of light. At the front of the room sat Judge Yujun. He was from a species called Centaurians and looked almost human except for his silver skin and large black eyes. His voice was deep and calm when he spoke. "We are here today to decide a case that could change how our galaxy thinks about one of its most feared species," Judge Yi-jun announced. "The defendant is Nari Kim, an 8-year-old human child accused of violating the Interspecies Protection Act by befriending a dragon." Nari felt very small sitting at the defendant's table next to Attorney Minho. Across the room, Prosecutor Jamin organized his papers with all 4 of his arms. "Before we begin," Judge Yujun continued, "I want everyone to remember that we are dealing with a child. This court will treat her with appropriate care and respect. Prosecutor Jae Min stood up to give his opening statement. Your Honor, this case is simple. The defendant willfully and repeatedly violated our most important law. She approached a class of restricted species and formed an illegal bond with it. He pressed a button and holographic images appeared in the air above the courtroom. They showed destroyed buildings, burned spacecraft, and frightened people running from large dark shapes in the sky. These are the results of dragon attacks over the past century, Jae Min said. 57 colonies destroyed. Over 12,000 people killed or missing. This is why the Interspecies Protection Act was created. The images were terrible. Nari had never seen such destruction before. But something about the pictures bothered her. The dragons in the images looked different from Beak. They were much larger and their scales were dark instead of white. The defendant may claim her dragon friend was harmless, Jae Min continued, but dragons are master manipulators. They can make their victims believe anything. This child has been mentally influenced by a dangerous predator. Many of the aliens in the audience made sounds of agreement. Nari could see fear in their eyes when they looked at her. Attorney Min Ho stood up for his opening statement. Your Honor, my client is an innocent child who showed compassion to an injured creature. She is not the victim of mental manipulation. She is proof that understanding can exist between species that have been enemies. He gestured toward Nari. Look at this child. Does she seem harmed or controlled? She is brave, intelligent, and caring. Her actions come from the best part of human nature, our ability to see beyond fear and prejudice. The prosecution wants you to believe that all dragons are monsters, Min Ho continued. But what if they are wrong? What if this 8-year-old girl has discovered something that could change our entire understanding of an ancient species? Prosecutor, Jae Min objected. The defense is asking this court to ignore centuries of evidence based on the fantasies of a child. The evidence will speak for itself, Min Ho replied. When you hear Nari's testimony, you will understand that everything we thought we knew about dragons may be wrong. Judge Yi Jun called for order as excited voices filled the courtroom. This trial was already becoming more than anyone had expected. We will hear the prosecution's case first, Judge Yi Jun announced. Then the defense will present their evidence. After that, the defendant herself will have the chance to tell her story. As the first witness was called, Nari felt Beak's presence somewhere in the building. He was scared and confused, locked away in some kind of prison. She sent him feelings of love and hope through their connection. Soon she would have her chance. To tell everyone the truth about dragons, she only hoped they would listen to her. The fate of her friend, her family, and maybe even the galaxy itself might depend on whether grown-ups could learn to see the world through the eyes of a child who dared to befriend a dragon. The prosecution spent 2 days showing evidence of dragon attacks. They brought witnesses who had survived dragon encounters. They showed videos of burned colonies and damaged spaceships. By the end of the second day, everyone in the courtroom looked at Nari with a mixture of pity and fear. Finally, it was time for Nari to take the witness stand. She walked slowly to the front of the courtroom. The chair was too big for her, so they brought a special smaller one. Even then, her feet barely touched the floor. Judge Yi Jun looked down at her kindly. Nari, do you understand that you must tell the truth here today? Yes, sir, Nari said in a small voice that somehow carried clearly through the large room. Are you ready to begin? Nari nodded. She looked out at all the different alien faces staring at her. Some looked curious, others looked angry or scared. She took a deep breath and began to speak. My name is Nari Kim and I am 8 years old. 3 weeks ago, I found my friend Beak hurt in a crystal cave. He was bleeding and his wing was broken. I helped him because that is what my parents taught me to do when someone is hurt. Attorney Min Ho stood up. Nari, can you tell us about your first conversation with Beak? We do not talk with words like humans do. Dragons speak with their minds. Beak was scared when he first saw me. He thought I would hurt him because humans have hurt dragons before. What did you learn about dragons from Beak? Min Ho asked Nari. Closed her eyes and remembered the feelings and images Beak had shared with her. Dragons are not monsters. They are very old and very wise. They remember things that happened thousands of years ago. Prosecutor Jamin stood up. Objection. The child cannot possibly know the real thoughts of a dragon. She is clearly under its mental influence. I am not controlled by anyone, Nari said firmly. Beak is my friend. Friends do not control each other. Judge Ijun allowed her to continue. Nari, the prosecution has shown us evidence that dragons have attacked human colonies. How do you explain this? Nari looked sad. Dragons do not attack people for fun. They attack because humans hurt their babies first. A shocked silence filled the courtroom. This was not what anyone had expected to hear. What do you mean? Judge Ijun asked. Beak showed me pictures in his mind. Humans came to dragon worlds and built big machines that dig deep holes. The machines destroyed dragon nests where baby dragons lived. When dragon parents tried to protect their babies, humans called it an attack. Minho walked closer to Nari. Can you tell us more about what Beak showed you? Nari nodded. The burned colonies. That the prosecutor showed you, those were not dragon attacks. Dragons were trying to warn humans about danger. What kind of danger? Minho asked. The ground under those colonies was going to break apart. Dragons can feel things deep in the earth that humans cannot feel with their machines. They tried to make humans leave before the ground collapsed. Prosecutor. Jamin jumped up. This is ridiculous. Dragons do not help humans. They are primitive beasts. No, Nari said, and her voice was stronger now. Dragons are much smarter than humans think. They have been taking care of planets for millions of years. They know how to keep the balance between all living things. Judge Ijun leaned forward. Nari, are you saying that dragons were trying to help humans, not hurt them? Yes, but humans were too scared to understand. They saw big dragons flying toward them and thought it meant danger. Dragons tried to communicate, but humans do not know how to listen to dragon speech. And you can understand this dragon speech? Judge Ijun asked. Yes, it is not hard. You just have to be willing to listen with your heart instead of your fear. Dr. So Young, a scientist who studied alien minds, was called to examine Nari. She used special equipment to scan Nari's brain while she talked about Beak. Your Honor, Dr. So Young announced after her tests. This child is showing genuine telepathic brain activity. She is not making this up or being controlled. She really is communicating with the dragon. The courtroom erupted in excited voices. Judge Yi-jun had to call for order several times. Nari, Minho said when things were quiet again. Is there anything else Beak has told you about dragons? Nari looked around the courtroom nervously. What she was about to say would sound crazy to most people, but she had promised to tell the truth. Dragons are trying to protect our galaxy from something terrible that is coming. They call them the Dark Devourers. They are creatures from far away that eat entire worlds. Dragons have been fighting them for millions of years. When are these Dark Devourers coming? Judge Yi-jun asked. Soon, maybe in 10 or 20 years. Dragons can sense them getting closer. That is why dragons have been moving to different planets. They are not running away from humans. They are getting ready to protect everyone. The courtroom was completely silent now. Everyone was trying to understand what this little girl was telling them. Dragons need help, Nari continued. They are old and tired from fighting the Dark Devourers for so long. But humans have been hunting dragons instead of helping them. If all the dragons die, no one will be able to stop the Dark Devourers when they arrive. Prosecutor Jamin looked desperate. Your Honor, this child is telling fairy tales. There is no evidence of these Dark Devourers. Actually, said Admiral Kyung-ho, standing up from the audience section, there is evidence. Admiral Kyung-ho was the head of the Galactic Defense Force. He was a serious man who rarely spoke in public. Our deep space sensors have been detecting strange energy readings at the edge of our galaxy for the past 5 years, he said. We did not know what they were, but they match exactly what this child has described. The Admiral looked directly at Nari. Young lady, can your dragon friend tell us more about these Dark Devourers? Nari felt Beak's presence grow stronger in her mind. He was excited that someone was finally willing to listen. Beak says the Dark Devourers look like giant shadows with many teeth. They travel in large groups and they eat everything living on a planet. The only way to stop them is with dragon fire, but it takes many dragons working together. How many dragons are left in our galaxy? Admiral Kyung-ho asked. Nari felt Beak's sadness flow through her. Not many, maybe only a few hundred. Before humans came, there were thousands of dragons. Now there are not enough left to protect all the worlds in our galaxy. Judge Jun looked around the courtroom at all the alien representatives. If what this child says is true, we have made a terrible mistake. We have been destroying the very creatures who were trying to protect us. Nari stood up in her chair so everyone could see her better. It is not too late. Dragons still want to help, but humans have to stop being afraid and start being friends. Dragons and humans together can be strong enough to fight the Dark Devourers. As Nari finished speaking, she felt a warm presence in her mind. It was not just Beak anymore. Other dragons were joining their mental connection. Dragons all across the galaxy were reaching out to this brave little human girl who had dared to tell their story. The truth was finally being heard. The courtroom buzzed with worried voices after Nari's testimony. Representatives from different worlds talked quickly to each other in many languages. Some looked scared, others looked angry, and a few looked hopeful. Judge Jun called for order. This court will take a short break while we consider this new information. During the break, Admiral Kyung-ho met with other military leaders. They brought out classified reports and star charts that showed the strange energy readings at the edge of the galaxy. Commander Tae-woo, who had arrested Nari, approached Admiral Kyung-ho. Sir, I have studied dragon attack reports for years. Now that I think about it, many of the attacks happened right before natural disasters struck those areas. What kind of disasters? Admiral Kyung-ho asked. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, solar flares, things that our early warning systems missed, but that killed many people later. Admiral Kyung-ho nodded slowly. So the dragons were not attacking? They were trying to evacuate people from dangerous areas. Meanwhile, Dr. So-young was studying her brain scan results of Nari. She called defense attorney Minho over to look at her findings. These readings are incredible, Dr. So-young said. This child's brain is showing activity we have never seen before in humans. She really is telepathically connected to the dragon. What does that mean? Minho asked. It means she is not lying or imagining things. She is actually receiving information directly from an alien mind. If dragons have been trying to communicate with humans for years, this might be the first time we have been able to understand them. When the trial resumed, Counselor Yoonji stood up to address the court. She was a tall, elegant alien with purple skin and silver hair. She represented the Andromedan Alliance, one of the most powerful groups in the galaxy. Your Honor, Counselor Yoonji said, the Andromedan Alliance has always supported peaceful contact with all species. If this child speaks the truth, we have committed a grave injustice against the dragon race. She gestured toward Nari. This young human has shown us something remarkable. She has proven that communication between species is possible, even when those species are very different from each other. Prosecutor Jae-min stood up desperately. Counselor Yoonji, you cannot seriously believe the stories of a child over centuries of documented evidence. I believe what I see, Counselor Yoonji replied. I see a child who has formed a genuine friendship with a supposedly dangerous creature. I see scientific evidence that supports her claims, and I see military reports that match her warnings about approaching threats. Judge Jun looked at Admiral Kyung-ho. Admiral, can you share your analysis of these energy readings with the court? Admiral Kyung-ho stood up and activated a holographic display. It showed a map of their galaxy with small red dots moving slowly toward the center. These objects have been moving in our direction for 5 years, Admiral Kyung-ho explained. They are large, they move in organized groups, and they emit no known energy signatures. We have been trying to figure out what they are. He looked at Nari. Young lady, can you ask your dragon friend to describe these dark devourers in more detail? Nari closed her eyes and reached out to Beak with her mind. She could feel him somewhere in the building, still locked away, but eager to help. Beak says the Dark Devourers are not alive like us, Nari said. They are like hungry shadows that eat light and life. They came from outside our galaxy long ago. Dragons have been fighting them for so long that most people forgot the war was happening. How do dragons fight these creatures? Admiral Kyung-ho asked. Dragon fire is very special. It can burn things that normal fire cannot burn. When many dragons work together, their fire can destroy Dark Devourers. But it takes at least 50 dragons working as one to stop a single devourer. Admiral Kyung-ho did some quick math in his head. If there are only a few hundred dragons left, and they need 50 dragons to stop one devourer, then we can only stop a few attacks. How many Dark Devourers are coming? Counselor Yunji asked. Nari felt Beak's deep sadness as he shared this knowledge. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Too many for the dragons that are left. The courtroom fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. If Nari was telling the truth, their entire galaxy was in terrible danger. Dr. Jin-A, a scientist who studied ancient history, stood up from the audience. Your Honor, I have spent my career studying old legends from different worlds. Many ancient cultures have stories about great dragons who protected them from shadow creatures. I always thought these were just myths. What did these legends say? Judge Jun asked. They said that dragons and the younger races once fought together against creatures from the dark between stars. The legends say this alliance saved countless worlds. But as time passed, people forgot about the shadow creatures and began to fear the dragons instead. Prosecutor Jae-min looked around desperately. Even if all of this is true, how do we know we can trust dragons? They are still dangerous creatures. Nari stood up in her chair again. Dragons are only dangerous to their enemies. Humans do not have to be enemies. We can choose to be friends. But how? Asked Counselor Yunji. If only some humans can communicate with dragons, how can we build trust between our species? Nari smiled for the first time since the trial began. Beak told me that humans are special. Most species can only talk to dragons after many years of training, but human minds are very flexible. With a little help, many humans could learn to speak with dragons. You mean other humans could do what you do? Dr. So-young asked. Yes, dragons have been waiting for humans to be ready. They think humans might be the key to bringing all the species of the galaxy together to fight the Dark Devourers. Admiral Kyung-ho stepped forward. Young lady, if we were to free your dragon friend and try to establish communication with other dragons, how would we begin? Nari felt hope flowing through her connection with Beak. First we have to change the law that says dragons are dangerous. Then we have to bring dragon families back to worlds where they used to live. Dragons know things about each planet that can help everyone who lives there. And in return, they would help us prepare to fight these Dark Devourers? Counselor Yunji asked. Dragons do not want anything in return except to be allowed to live in peace. Protecting people from the Dark Devourers is what dragons have always done. It is who they are. Judge Yi-jun looked around the courtroom at all the representatives from different worlds. We have heard remarkable testimony today. If this child speaks the truth, everything we thought we knew about dragons has been wrong. He paused and looked directly at Nari. Young lady, do you understand that your words today could change the fate of our entire galaxy? Nari nodded seriously. I understand. But I also understand that sometimes telling the truth is the most important thing you can do, even when it is scary. Even when adults do not want to hear it? Judge Ji-jun asked with a small smile. Especially then, Nari said, as the day ended. Everyone in the courtroom knew that this trial had become much more than a simple case about a child and a dragon. It had become a decision about the future of every living being in the galaxy. The question now was whether the adults who ran the galaxy were brave enough to listen to the wisdom of an 8-year-old girl. Judge Yi-jun took 3 days to make his decision. During those 3 days, the entire galaxy watched and waited. News reports talked about nothing else. Some people were angry that a child might change such important laws. Others were excited about the possibility of peace with dragons. Nari stayed with her parents in a small room near the courthouse. She could still feel Beak's presence, and she sent him feelings of hope and love every day. Other dragons from across the galaxy were also reaching out to her mind. She felt like she was part of a great family that stretched across the stars. On the morning of the fourth day, everyone gathered in the courtroom again. Judge Yijun looked serious as he prepared to announce his decision. "This has been the most difficult case of my career," Judge Yijun began. "We have heard testimony that challenges everything our society believes about one of our galaxy's oldest species." He looked at Nari, who sat quietly beside Attorney Minho. "Nari Kim, you are 8 years old. You should be playing with toys and learning to read, not teaching adults about interspecies relations. But sometimes wisdom comes from unexpected places." Judge Yijun activated a holographic display that showed the brain scan results, the military sensor data, and ancient texts that Dr. Jinne had researched. "The evidence supports the defendant's testimony," Judge Yijun announced. "Scientific analysis confirms that she has genuine telepathic contact with the dragon. Military reports confirm unusual energy readings that match her descriptions of approaching threats. Historical research confirms that ancient legends support her claims about dragon behavior." The courtroom was completely silent as everyone waited for the verdict. "Therefore, this court finds Nari Kim not guilty of all charges," Judge Yijun declared. "Furthermore, this court recommends that the Galactic Council immediately review and revise the Interspecies Protection Act to reflect our new understanding of dragon intelligence and intentions." Cheers erupted from some sections of the courtroom while others remained quiet and worried. Nari felt tears of joy running down her face, but Judge Yijun was not finished. "Additionally, this court officially recognizes dragons as a sapient species with full rights under galactic law. They are no longer to be classified as dangerous animals, but as fellow citizens of our galaxy." "Finally," Judge Yijun said, looking directly at Nari, "this court appoints Nari Kim as the first official human-dragon liaison with full authority to establish communication protocols between humans and dragons." Nari could hardly believe what she was hearing. Not only was she free, but she was being asked to help build bridges between humans and dragons. Within hours of the verdict, Beak was released from his prison. Nari ran to him as soon as she saw him, and he wrapped his now-healed wing gently around her. Their reunion was broadcast across the galaxy, showing everyone that a human child and a dragon could truly be friends. "I missed you so much," Nari whispered to Beak. "I knew you would find a way to help," Beak replied through their mind connection. "Dragons everywhere are grateful to you." The weeks that followed were busy and exciting. Nari worked with Dr. So Young to develop methods for teaching other humans to communicate with dragons. They discovered that children learned dragon speech much faster than adults, so schools across the galaxy began offering dragon communication classes. Commander Taewoo, who had arrested Nari, became the head of the new Dragon Protection Force. His job was to make sure dragons were safe while they returned to their old homes on planets across the galaxy. "I was wrong about dragons," Commander Taewoo told Nari during one of their meetings. "I let fear blind me to the truth. Thank you for being braver than all of us adults." Nari's parents, Dongho and Sujin, were put in charge of a new research program studying dragon ecology. They learned that dragons had been secretly maintaining the environmental balance on hundreds of worlds. Planets where dragons lived were healthier and more stable than planets without them. Admiral Kyung-ho worked with dragon elders to prepare defenses against the dark devourers. Dragons shared their ancient knowledge about the shadow creatures, while humans provided new technology that could enhance dragon fire. 6 months after the trial, the first human dragon defense team was formed. Nari and Beak were part of this team, along with other human children who had learned to communicate with dragons and their dragon partners. The team's first mission was to evacuate a mining colony that dragons sensed was in danger. The miners were angry at first, refusing to believe that dragons were trying to help them. But 3 days after the evacuation, a massive earthquake destroyed the entire mining site. Everyone realized that the dragons had saved their lives. 1 year after the trial, Nari stood before the Galactic Council to give her first official report as human-dragon liaison. She was 9 years old now, but she carried herself with the confidence of someone much older. Dragons and humans working together have prevented 12 natural disasters this year, Nari reported. We have also established communication with dragons on 47 different worlds. Each dragon family is sharing their knowledge about local ecosystems with human scientists. Counselor Yunji smiled at Nari. What about preparations for the Dark Devourers? Dragon numbers are growing, Nari said happily. When dragons felt safe to come out of hiding, we discovered there were more of them than we thought. We now have over 800 dragons working with human defense forces. And the approaching threat? Admiral Kyung-ho asked. Nari closed her eyes and reached out to Beak and the other dragons. Through their shared consciousness, she could sense the Dark Devourers still moving toward their galaxy. The first Dark Devourers will arrive in 8 years, Nari announced. But dragons believe we will be ready for them. Humans and dragons together are stronger than either species alone. As Nari finished her report, she looked out at the assembled representatives from across the galaxy. Humans, Centaurians, Altarians, Andromedans, and dozens of other species sat together, no longer afraid of the dragons who now lived and worked alongside them. My friend Beak taught me that friendship is the strongest force in the universe, Nari said. When different people choose to understand each other instead of fear each other, amazing things can happen. She paused and smiled. Humans are good at making friends with people who are different from us. Maybe that is our special gift to the galaxy. We can help everyone see that being different does not mean being enemies. After the meeting, Nari and Beak flew together over New Terra. Beak had grown much larger over the past year, and Nari could now ride on his back safely. Below them, human settlements and dragon nests existed side by side in harmony. Do you think we will really be able to stop the Dark Devourers? Nari asked as they soared through the purple sky. I think, Beak replied through their mind connection, that the little human girl who was brave enough to help a hurt dragon can do anything she sets her mind to. Nari laughed and hugged Beak's neck as they flew toward the setting suns. She had started with one simple act of kindness, helping an injured creature in a cave. That small act had grown into something that changed the entire galaxy. As they landed near her family's research station, Nari thought about all the adventures that were still to come. The Dark Devourers were still approaching, and there would be challenges ahead. But she was not afraid anymore. She had learned that when people choose love over fear, understanding over prejudice, and friendship over hatred, even the darkest threats could be defeated. And she had learned that sometimes the most important job in the galaxy could be done by someone who was still young enough to believe in the impossible. Nari Kim, the little human girl who befriended a dragon, had become a bridge between worlds. And the galaxy was a brighter, safer place because of her courage.